Hello, everyone, and welcome to Up for Discussion Live here on ParaRockTV.com and now also on LATV in Leominster. I'm Jeff, your host, reporting for duty alongside, as always, the lovely Shannon. Hello, Shannon.
I'm Shannon, reporting for duty. Good evening.
What's going on?
Not much. Anticipating lots of snow. Again.
Snowpocalypse is coming in 2 days. Again, we're expecting measuring at this time of year in feet and not inches, which is always a major pain for us, Shannon.
It's good for snowplow people, and it's good for, who else, Jeff?
Well, not really anybody except maybe the snowmobilers. You know, the snowmobiles that ride their sleds all during the winter and go out on the lakes and out on the trails. And
yeah,
this is Mecca for them. They get a foot of snow there in heaven. And the skiers and the snowboarders, of course. It's all good.
Kids staying home from school.
Yeah, that's what
It's not good for self-employed people who have to bake cakes.
It's not good for just about anybody. I've about had it, really. It's been way too long, way too cold, and it feels like it's been winter forever, Shannon, forever.
It has been winter forever. I will admit, last year it was shorter. We had a splendid winter compared to this, and now it's just been miserably cold, way too long. I am officially tired of this. I'm not going to bitch too much. I'm not, because it's winter time, and this is what comes in the territory when you want to live in beautiful Massachusetts. Cue Peter Griffin, Jeff. Yeah. Spirit of Massachusetts is the spirit of America.
Yeah, and
it happens. I mean, you know, we live in New England. It's cold, it's wintry, it's beautiful in the fall, it's great in the spring, it's wonderful in the summer. So just got to deal with it.
And we are
a little bit longer.
As translucent as we ever get here on the show. This is. I'm Portuguese, she's Italian, and we're both looking quite pasty these days. I mean,
very, very pasty.
Very pasty.
I wear a lot of makeup for the show. A lot. I mean, I could scrape it off with a finger and probably leave a white mark underneath, and I still look very white on the screen. It's bothering me.
A little bit. That's what I did.
It's bothering me.
Got a little color in my face, you know.
Yeah, so. Well, it'll just go away. I don't want to hear. Somebody emailed me this week from Florida and said it's actually been too hot there. I'm like, oh, shut up. I mean, really? Come on, your orange is great. Congratulations, we get nothing.
Yeah, we don't want to hear it.
Please, really too hot.
Hello to all of you listening, not only on Pararock TV, on LATV, but also on your handheld mobile devices. And if you have one of those handheld mobile devices, such as an iPad, iPhone, or Android tablet or Android phone, you can certainly hear us the best by downloading the Puffin browser from the App Store. That's the app that you get, and it streams the stream really well, and it streams the chat room, and you can get us anywhere, anytime, forever. Right, Shan?
Forever.
Forever. All right. Also live during the show, you can tweet us at Up for Discussion and also hit us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/UFDRocks. And as always, you can hit us up here in our live chat room because we want to interact with you. This is different than most shows, Shannon. As you know, we've been doing this now for a few years, and our concept is a little bit different. We feel that interactive video games are pretty cool. People go about those and love those to pieces. So why not an interactive radio meets television show? Why not?
Well, we've been doing it a long time, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Came up with that idea a long time ago.
It's been about 4 years now, so we're getting there.
Really?
Yeah, it's been since 2000.
5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, actually,
2009.
We started July 18th, 2009, so it's been 4.5 years. Can you believe it?
Wow. It just feels like an eternity.
I know it does. You can also catch all of the great shows, not only Up for Discussion Live, but all the great shows here on Pararock TV on the archives section of YouTube. We put all of our great archives there forever, and you can hear them right there on our YouTube page. Simply look up PTV Webcast Network, and you can do that after the show if you miss us. We also post it on our Facebook pages, Shannon, so people won't miss us if they try hard enough. They don't have to miss us.
No, they know where to find us.
We got something new. You want to hear about what's new?
I have no idea what's new. You tell me.
We now have, and this is pretty scary, but we do now have the Pararock Mail, which is our 24/7 voicemail, which is now hooked up to 213-784-0884.
Really?
And I believe we do have some voicemails that are already in there.
Do we?
24/7. You can call and tell us what's on your mind.
Really?
If we're discussing a topic and you want to add something to that topic, if you want to bitch about something, if you want to promote something, if you want to rave about something.
Well, don't mind if I do.
If you want to do an impression of your favorite actor or actress or person in the world, we want to hear it all. Just hook us up right there, 213-784-0884. And we're going to plan on collecting these and playing the best ones on future
No
shows,
kidding.
Shannon. Yeah, I think
I love
that'd be
that.
pretty fun.
It's about time we do something like that.
Yeah, we can get the people calling in the middle of the night that have maybe been slightly overserved. That might be quite entertaining.
Oh, you mean the
right?
people that are deviated from the keyboard coverage, Jeff?
Yeah.
So what do you call that when you pick up a phone and you're bitching under anonymity? What is that?
The good old days. That's what I call it, the good old days. When you actually used to talk to people. Imagine that. Words and stuff. Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, it's been quite a long week here. And this week we have, of course, the Olympics going on. And, we watched a little bit of it. We're not quite as into it as we've been in the past. I think it's because it's over there in Mother Russia. It's tough to get into it. But
Sochi. No one heard of Sochi before until this.
I know.
You know that?
The time differences, as always, we're watching stuff in the morning at breakfast and all that stuff. But, I got to give kudos because we do know a couple of the players. The U.S. Women's Olympic hockey team is absolutely on fire, kicking ass.
Are they still, is it still playing the hockey?
Women's? Oh, yeah. They're going to
Okay.
be they're going to be playing Team Canada, I think, tomorrow night in the medal round. And they and Team Canada are two of the top favorites there. And, to watch them.
Canada, shocker.
Yeah, I know. They're unbelievable, though. I mean, the way they skate and their balance, and I mean, I was super impressed watching them the other day. They can really move the puck well, and they don't check like they do in men's hockey, but they
Well,
sure
what
do
fun is
fly
that?
around. They sure do.
Absolutely no fun if you can't check. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Even the Czechs can't check. That must really hurt them. I can't check, but I'm Czech.
That's why you watch hockey. You watch hockey for the violence. Is that why you?
No,
do,
I think it's a bunch of BS. You know me. When we went to Boston, we went and saw a game, and it's all like a big soap opera. It's all make believe. The fighting.
Oh, that's what.
The fighting is all scripted. WWF.
Oh no! I've got to explain this to
Oh,
you. And
come
for those
on.
of you out there that are hockey fans, you got my back on this. I want you to chime in the chat room because I know you guys know the drill. There is a thing on every NHL team and most college teams, and actually at any level of hockey that's professional. It's called the enforcer, Shannon. And you have guys out there that are goal scorers, that don't hit very much. And then you have guys out there that its sole purpose in life is to fight. And as a matter of fact, LB, local radio show host here, he was an enforcer, sometimes called a goon. And what they do is when they have a guy that may be a goal scorer that doesn't fight very much, I mean, he might get roughed up a little bit. Well, guess who's coming on the ice next? That's the goon. The goon's going to come out.
Enforcer.
The enforcer's going to come out, and he's going to get in the face of the other guy. He's going to try to start a fight. And, sometimes it's even to change momentum in a hockey game, Shannon. If your team's losing, if you're getting your butt kicked pretty bad, sometimes a good fight to stir things up gets things going. It's actually part of the strategy, believe it or not.
Hasn't always been like that, though.
It has. And as a matter of fact, back in the day, back in the 70s, when I first started watching hockey, you'd have interviews with them and they'd be smoking cigarettes in the locker room. They didn't even wear helmets back then. The goalies didn't even wear face masks back then. And they were getting the same puck.
That's safe.
Yeah, same puck getting shot at them the same way. I mean, yeah, granted, it may be a little bit harder shots now, but they were still winging that puck around.
So you can fight in the NFL, but you can't check
NHL.
people.
Yeah, well,
And
no.
NHL.
In the NHL, you can, but in Olympic
in
women's
Olympics,
hockey,
you
you
can't.
can't. But
Because girls we're fragile and we can break, right? That's so stupid. I'm sorry. We've
just
got more
think
padding
it's,
up here. I think it'd be easier.
I think it's a very violent sport, especially at the men's NHL level. You see elbows getting flied all the time, and the amount of concussions that are happening now in the league is pretty much at an all-time high. So I think they're trying to protect Olympic players, especially at that age. These are girls that are just out of college. It's not like they have professional women's hockey like they do men. So
boys out of college can check?
Well, yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
If boys right out of college can check, why can't girls right out of college
well,
check?
You heard it here first. Shannon wants to bring checking to women's Olympic
what
hockey.
is wrong?
Write your congressman.
I'm
right?
sorry, but this doesn't make any sense to me. There's a question from the chat. What are my thoughts on Alexander Skarsgård officially set to play Tarzan?
Really? Oh, boy.
That's a new thought. That thought hasn't entered my mind. You know what? To be honest with you, I don't even want to see that guy in a loincloth. I don't. That's not attractive to me. I would much rather see him clothed That's I
Alexander
like.
Skarsgård. Yes, folks, you can stick to me. Anywho,
So you saved that as a soundbite, didn't you?
I have every soundbite from every show.
I like him. I like him with clothes on. I think he's too long and thin, and I don't like guys that are too stringy. I can't even picture that. Did you guys know? I had to throw this out there. Did you guys know that Alexander Skarsgård was the lead in Lady Gaga's Paparazzi music video long before anyone even knew who she was? He had caught her eye on True Blood, and she specifically asked for him to be in the video.
Really?
Yeah. If you watch the Paparazzi video, he's the guy that tries to kill her repeatedly, so she turns around and kills him.
And the paparazzi?
Really nice. Really nice. But hey, no, I didn't know he was going to be Tarzan. I'm sorry. That doesn't do it for me. Sorry.
Wow.
It's like David Beckham. I mean, I'd rather, you know what? He'd probably play a better Tarzan, to be honest with you.
David Beckham acting, huh?
But no, the tattoos, too many. Too many
tattoos. Well, speaking of L.A. and Hollywood and movies, we lost, of course, Shirley Temple Black today.
Oh,
died
God.
at age 85. She was such a damn
So
cutie, Shannon.
cute.
Wasn't she adorable?
What a
Oh, my God.
talented,
What a
little,
face.
cute little girl, and she always stayed out of the tabloids.
You know that I was going to mention that. You talk about a childhood actress. She set the bar originally. I mean, she was one of the first childhood actresses ever to really make it big. I mean, she I think made $4 million over her career, which back then.
Oh God!
I mean,
during the Depression, that's a huge amount of money.
Absolutely huge.
Nobody
amount of
had money back then.
And guess what? She wasn't on drugs.
No.
She didn't parade herself around and look like a sleazebag. I mean,
and she became a diplomat. She was a she was a politician for the rest of her life.
She was an ambassador to Czechoslovakia back before it was the Czech Republic.
She checked.
And also to Ghana way back when. She was an ambassador to those two countries.
Oh, what a little cutie. You know what? This makes me really want to, we're going to see it on TV now. They're going to start rerunning the old shows, but that little tap dancing girl, and she would just be with every star known to man back then. And we don't have child stars as big as that. I mean, there's a lot more competition, guys. We have a lot more different forms of media. We have movies, TV, cell phones and stuff like that. But back then when televisions were coming out, and who didn't know who Shirley Temple was? But I can't think of one child star since that has been that big. That was, did I lose you, Jeff?
No, I'm reading the chat room over here.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, she was just absolutely enormous. And who doesn't know who she is? I mean, maybe the tweens generations, maybe even a couple 20-something-year-olds, if they've lived on our rock, that's big enough. But
well, I mean, when you have a drink named after you, I mean, my goodness. I know. Every kid in the world, if the kid in the world hasn't had a Shirley Temple. They don't even know what a Shirley
Temple is.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, it's like an Arnie Palmer, huh?
They used to call it a Bobby Orr around here, along with Shirley Temple. If you didn't call it a Shirley Temple, you call it a Bobby Orr. Of course, being a famous hockey player.
What? Godfather says I used to drink her when I was a kid and went out to dinner with my parents. Yes, everybody drank her.
Read DJ Darkside's got a comment in there about the NHL.
Useless trivia. In the NHL, it's actually designated as a foul to intentionally remove your helmet before a fight.
Yes, it
Hence,
is.
when the players play Rock'em Sock'em Robots, the home game when a fight arrives.
That's right.
Yeah, we've heard that.
Went to a hockey game went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. That's right. But you have to remove your gloves. There's certain protocol.
Yeah, but we watched that little Marshawn kid skating around antagonizing the crap out of people. I mean, starting fights with people.
That's Brad
And I'm like,
Marchand. That's
come on. I mean, he just went right up to that kid for no reason, smashed him into the side of the glass, and the kid actually turned around and wouldn't fight him back.
That's right. That's called discipline.
He was trying. And I'm like, what is this? I mean, I thought this was about scoring goals.
Well, it is. It's part of the strategy, Shannon.
But some of their best players can get hurt.
That's, unfortunately, that's why they have the enforcers, so that they're intimidated not to go after your top scoring player, because there's guys out there. The range and size in the NHL is probably larger range than any pro sport out there. I mean, you look at players in the NHL that are 5 foot something, and then you have Zdeno Chara, who's 7 feet, 6'11" and a half.
Football players are mostly fat.
But you look at the size range between football players. Yeah, you get some guys that are maybe 5'11", and then you get some 300-pounders. But it's not like the NHL where there's such a range of size and the speed that's in that game. I mean, you got a guy that's 7 feet tall before he puts on skates coming at you, and his elbow is up above your head. It's tough when you talk about concussions and hitting people. It's a very, very violent sport.
I would like to watch a cooking show where people can check each other while they're baking. So that would be entertaining. I'm trying to whip up cupcakes and my competitor's trying to frost them and we're just slamming each other around. Nothing can get done.
And Low Battery Dave says Marshy rocks. I got to agree with you. That's for sure.
Whatever.
Now, let me ask you, what is your favorite Olympic sport? If you had to pick a winter Olympic
I
sport.
love figure skating.
Have you watched any of the figure skating?
No, I haven't had time. I love it. I think it's super, super beautiful. It's timeless. I mean, I grew up watching that as a kid. It's one of those sports on TV, and of course, like a lot of others, except for curling, you look at it and say that it looks a lot easier than it is.
Curling, I think, is much like people that are looking for a mail order bride. They watch the curling because then they get a woman that's professional sweeping. They do a really good job sweeping, and
that's because we're good with brooms.
Probably do a great job around the house too. Wouldn't you think?
But we're also good with curling, so we should be in the competition. Yeah, curling's useless. I'm sorry. I don't understand curling. I don't, but I do like figure skating. Super, super talent. I also like, in the Summer Olympics, I like the gymnastic sports, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Just to see their strength and just the ridiculousness of these young girls and boys, what they can do with their bodies.
And they're getting younger and younger.
Oh yeah,
as they're becoming professional and Olympic athletes now, and they're crushing world records. The training is just intense, and it's really a great segue to a topic later on in the show that we're going to cover about child anxiety, because you can imagine the pressure that is put on these kids to
and
succeed.
Abuse. Yeah.
And they've made many a show about it, how parents push the kids, how coaches push the kids.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that later in the show, not only for sports, but also in general when it comes to our schools as well.
Yep, absolutely.
And we do have a great show lined up for you guys with a couple of great topics later on in the show. Of course, yours truly, Shannon Sylvia, brings you the Who Does That as well. And we want to say hello to a couple of really special folks out there. Gunnar and the crew out there in Oregon, bringing a Sasquatch coffee, my morning favorite. I wake up every morning and have myself a nice, robust cup of Sasquatch coffee because, Shannon, I like the bolder, richer stuff, where you prefer the milder breakfast blend.
That's me.
That is. So enjoy Sasquatch coffee by finding them on Facebook.com/Sasquatch Coffee. An absolutely great cup of coffee brought to you from the folks at Sasquatch. And also Bailey's Bar and Grill out there in Townsend, Massachusetts. For those of you who know Shannon and I, we prefer the local fare versus the commercial chain restaurants. And Bailey's Bar and Grill brings you all that. Great food, great service. They have great owners out there. Pam and Al do a wonderful job. And the drinks are great, too. So it's an all-around great time out there in Townsend. If you're in the area, hit Bailey's Bar and Grill. You can also find them on their website at baileysbarandgrill.com. And new to the show, helping us out, is our friend Sean at thegoststop.com. And Shannon, why don't you take over that one? You know Sean pretty well.
What a great little business out in Tampa, Florida. Sean started this off as a small shop, and it quickly grew. He's in a big place now out there, and all kinds of ghost hunting equipment from A to Z, guys. Equipment that you'll see on TV, not on TV. Equipment that's used by your peers. Great prices, too. So check out ghoststop.com.
There you go, ghoststop.com. And you can also find them, I believe, on Facebook as well. And, great stuff. And if you want to get your stuff here to be in front of the gazillions that watch us here on PararockTV.com as well as LATV, you can simply contact us right over there at info@PararockTV.com, and we will put your website right here, down at the bottom. And we also want to say a very special hello tonight to our newest sponsor coming on, Shannon, Village Pizza. Ray and Amy Wyman up there in Leominster, 1314 Main Street, what they call King's Corner.
Still, I love it.
It's still called King's Corner.
Nobody will ever remember why, unless you're probably 40 and over.
Yeah, that's true. Do you know the story of why it's called King's Corner?
Well, King's Corner Restaurant. I remember that as a small child.
That's right.
It was the restaurant where now, I'd say now it's the Weather Vane, but Weather Vane just went out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be like a big castle in there. Everything was kind of medievalish, and I remember nothing about the food.
I do remember
But
that.
it was the King's Corner restaurant, and that restaurant's long gone, but King's Corner stuck.
And it's kind of like Searstown. It's now the mall at Whitney Field.
Oh,
but
yeah, it's always
everybody
gonna be
still calls it
Searstown.
Searstown. So, yeah, Village Pizza has an authentic Italian recipe, true Italian pizza. And those of you that know me and Shannon, we are very picky about our pizzas. As a matter of fact, I drive by I drive by 3 pizza places to get there, Shannon, to go get
I
Village
heard.
Pizza. And I will do that because it's absolutely wonderful. And
Yep.
for me, Shannon, as you know, it's all about the toppings. So kudos to Village Pizza, and thanks again to Ray and Amy Wyman for hooking us up here at the show. And once again, welcome. Looking forward to having a long and wonderful and yummy relationship with you guys as well.
I really loved my pizza tonight, by the way, if you
It
guys
was
are
wicked
watching.
good. Wicked
Extra
good.
mushrooms. Oh, finally.
And they're new in town, so they really do a nice job, and they're not afraid to alter the recipe a little bit. Like I went in and said, my wife wants a few more mushrooms and a few less onions, so that's what we got.
Well, that people
very,
can order
very
extra toppings. That's normal.
was
But
very
they did a
good.
good job.
Yeah, they sure did. Now, if you are new to the show, we want to welcome you and thank you for joining us. And please tell your friends about us. We'd love to have you here every week joining us. And again, you can interact with us in our chat room right here. Miss Shannon is the master of the chat room. She will be watching and relaying your comments, questions, and concerns to us here at the show. And that's pretty cool because not normally do you get to watch TV and chime in on what's going on. You get to talk to the hosts. You get to talk to the guests. And I do believe we have a caller calling in. I'm going to take this call real quick and see who this is. Hello, you're on with Jeff and Shannon on Up for Discussion. Hello.
Hey there, is this Jeff?
This is.
Hey there, it's Marianne calling from Nashua.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for calling. Good deal. Good deal. Now, we are going to get into that topic here in just a little bit, so stick around with us if you can. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to do Who Does That? And then when we come back, we're going to talk
you do
about
me a
childhood
favor?
anxiety. Stick around 1 second. Okay. All right, so we've got Marianne on. She is going to be our resident expert, I believe,
good.
Shannon. To help us. And later in the show, we are going to be talking about childhood anxiety and depression, which is it's very noticeable now in our country, and it may be because of the awareness with the internet, maybe something that's been going on all the time, but it is now in the forefront, and it is something worth talking about. Parents, if you're a parent, you definitely want to be involved in this conversation. So we are going to cover that later in the show, and I think we're going to step out. We're going to take a quick break right now. And when we come back, yours truly, Miss Shannon Sylvia, with the now famous in over 70 countries, Shannon.
Oh, we gained 2 from
We
last
gained 2
week.
countries.
That's phenomenal. Finally.
All right. Stick around. You're watching Up for Discussion here on PararockTV.com and on LATV in Leominster, Massachusetts. Up for Discussion Live with Jeff and Shannon. We'll be back right after this.
Hey everyone, this is Scott Rockenfield from Queensrÿche, and you're watching Terror Rock TV.
Oh yeah, when you hear that music, it can only mean one thing. It's that segment of the program when Shannon Sylvia asks, who does that? And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Shannon Sylvia.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in for my segment of Who Does That, where I find 3 awesome, amazing, ridiculous stories that are true, very true stories that I share with you for our show weekly, live, every time. First story. So Jeff, with the economy and a lot of churches have been going out of business over the past decade. Some of them are being converted into condos. Some of them are hanging in there, and others are now like multi-use. Now, I've personally sat in church and noticed that it was getting a little cooler because, the air systems aren't being used as much, whether it's too hot or too cold. But Jeff, have you ever sat in church and felt a complete breeze to the point where you think you're naked?
Well, there are certain days where sometimes the wind will whip through there, and you could feel like there might be something missing. You never know.
Parishioners in Virginia are now feeling more breeze than ever because the pastor of a clothing optional church has his congregation bearing their souls to Christ and accepting themselves in the way that they were made in their birthday suits. Oh, my God. So Alan Parker, he's the pastor of Whitetail Chapel in Richmond, Virginia.
You know who that looks like, don't you?
I'm sorry, who?
DG.
Hold
Dan.
on. Okay,
Tell me
I
that
was
doesn't look
reading
like
my
Dan.
story and not looking at the chat. That does look like Dan Guthrie, everybody. I'll say it. I just went there.
All right.
That's scary as hell.
We always do that, though. We always say something.
All right, let's go back to my story.
Sorry to mess you all up there, kid.
Thanks, producer. You should know what I was in the middle of. So Alan Parker, who looks like Dan Guthrie, pastor of the Whitetail Chapel in Richmond, said, even the cold February temperatures aren't enough to dissuade some members of the congregation to shed some or all of their clothing for the nude Sunday services. According to the local TV out there. Parker said, bearing their bodies helps worshipers to bear their souls to Christ.
It does.
And learn to accept their bodies. He says there's nothing sexual about the nudity whatsoever. There's not the feeling that you have to be better than one another physically. He says we're all humans. We have scars. We have what we have. It's learning to love and accept that. And Shannon Sylvia is going to come up with a solution for those of you that don't want to go naked. It's called a uniform, so that we don't have to feel like we're better than anybody else. That's what Catholic schools adopted eons ago. I am sorry, but I just can't imagine a lot of people are going for this.
Who does that?
I couldn't concentrate. Could you concentrate during the Mass? I mean,
not if I was sitting next to you, kid.
How do you concentrate on the gospel when everyone's naked? I mean, the whole point is to worship God, not to sit naked. God wore robes and sandals.
I think the idea is to just alleviate all that thought process altogether and just treat each other as if we were completely equals and humans and look past all that, Shannon.
Well, I'd like to, but I just don't want to do it naked. I don't want to see my coworker naked at church on Sunday.
Who does that?
I feel like a bad episode of Family Guy when Meg brings home her new boyfriend. Hi, Jake.
Boy.
So it's just bad. I don't know. I can't
That is
imagine that
bad.
this is going to
That is
help
bad.
anything. I bet you for ratings, the Mass is going to go up. No pun intended.
Not the only thing. Can you imagine when you're getting the Eucharist, walking up there and everybody's got to look? It's probably like being in the men's bathroom. You don't make any eye contact whatsoever, especially on genitalia.
Someone's going to say, body of Christ. Where? Oops, no, my bad. All right, so the second story. Jeff, now, since forever, I love these stories about where people go just absolute batshit crazy over burgers and McNuggets.
Oh, we have one. Hold on.
You're calling 911 because you don't like the way that they're making your sandwich?
Exactly.
There you go.
A man called 911 because he didn't like the way somebody was making his sandwich. That was last year's story. And, of course, we ran the story about the woman that jumped through the drive-thru and started beating a poor woman senseless over chicken McNuggets. Now we have another one, guys. Another very disgruntled McDonald's customer over here. This comes out of Grand Rapids, Michigan this week. A Michigan woman was so upset over a second consecutive incorrect burger order at a Grand Rapids McDonald's that she allegedly fired a shot into the restaurant's drive-thru window early Monday morning. Right. I want to go to
Wow.
jail because of a 99-cent burger.
Wow. What was the problem?
Well, according to the Lieutenant John Bilsma, 2 women discovered that the burger order was incorrect and returned to the restaurant to complain. They were told that they would receive a free meal during their next visit, so they left.
Okay.
The women came back a few hours later, placed the same order, and once again served an incorrectly prepared burger at the restaurant's drive-thru. Same guy's still there. Passenger in the car was identified as 29-year-old Shanika Monique Torres.
Shanika.
That is not a stereotyped name whatsoever. Then became verbally abusive and allegedly fired a pistol shot into the window of McDonald's.
Oh, my.
Suspects were tracked down because they had left their phone number at the restaurant during their initial visit.
It is a bright one.
And remember the who does that with the guy who showed his driver's license at the bank before robbing it. Torres will reportedly face felony charges, including carrying a concealed weapon without a permit, firing the weapon. Driver of the vehicle was released, but no one, thank God, was injured during the incident.
Who does that?
Jeff, what would you do if you twice received the wrong order? No, really. I mean, theoretically, what would you do?
Well, we have gone through that, Shannon, and simply I would make a call to the manager after not being satisfied with the employee. There are steps to be taken where you can simply contact the manager. And I don't really eat that much at McDonald's, but I wouldn't pull around the drive and say, "Yo, I'll put a cap in your ass. You mess up my meal again, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. I kill your family."
Oh my God! How mad can you get?
It's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal.
I mean, to attempt murder on someone over a hamburger.
It's getting pretty pissed off about a sandwich.
What is
from
McDonald's putting in their food?
I
I know I
know.
put crack.
McCrack.
I put crack in my buttercream, someone said once, but they're obviously doing something to the public. I don't know. There is some
That's a real good conspiracy
Who is
theory.
that videographer that does all the documentaries? We need
Morgan
him.
Spurlock.
No, Michael. Well, the other dude.
Oh, Mike, the big guy, Michael.
Michael.
Help us out, Nathan. Nathan, our resident expert who knows everything.
Come on, the one that no one likes, Michael Moore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where's Michael Moore when you need him? Michael, if you're watching, there's something in the burgers
There's something
that makes them loco.
making him crazy.
All right. Speaking of crazy, did I just read your mind?
You did.
All right. This
Get
one comes
off
out of
my head,
Vancouver, BC. That's Canadian.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, boy. This is a doozy, guys. I can't believe this story. I had to read it a couple times because I'm like, really? So, brand new story just came out. In an effort to stop the spread of disease among drug users, of course, remember needles. You'll see in the restrooms, there's like little needle deposit boxes for diabetics and drug users, and they do their thing, and then they put them in. That's fine, like the Sharps containers. And we've got condom dispensers in nightclubs for safety and to stop the spread of disease. Now we have installed crack pipe vending machines in the city's downtown East Side neighborhood. True story.
I got to blow this up.
Crack pipe vending machines. I'll say it again.
And they're only 25 cents.
The machines sell Pyrex crack pipes for 25 cents. So someone's trying to explain this bright idea away. And they're saying that in an effort to curb the... I'm sorry, I'm having a issue. Here we go. An effort to... promote increasing access to safer inhalation supplies to the downtown east side. So, guys, watch out. We're going to have spray cans with inhalants in it soon. Drug and Users Resource Center director said that this is one piece of the larger puzzle. See, you have to have treatment. You have to have detox. You have to have safe spaces to use your drug of choice. And you have to have safe and clean supplies.
Who does that?
Oh my God.
Yeah, Rob Ford goes missing from Toronto. He ended up in Vancouver as his The Godfather.
I would love to be a fly on the wall and have a park bench right across from that vending machine. I would sit there all day with my Starbucks and just watch the people walk up to the crack pipe vending machine and insert their quarter. I just want to see who does it. I want to see who's buying crack pipes out of that vending machine. I can't believe that this is what this world has come to. Could you imagine, Jeff, if somebody did successfully build a time machine and let's say they came from 1890. They were a very proper Victorian woman or a gentleman. And they were walking down the street in Vancouver and they saw a crack pipe vending machine. Could you imagine? And then we have condom dispensers in the stores and restaurants and clubs. Could you imagine how they would be like, what does this world come to?
The whole world's going to hell.
I feel like my grandmother's channeling through me, but really? Crack pipe vending machines for a quarter?
Well, they want to make sure that Pyrex, it won't break.
Oh,
So
can you believe Pyrex got that account? Yeah, right. We're doing the crack pipe vending machine. Sales on kitchen containers aren't cutting it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Wow.
All right.
Obscure reference, speaking of Canada, the Olympic Games is actually featuring a Canadian machine that sells beer. It's a dispenser beer machine, like a Coca-Cola machine. But here's the hook. You can only get the beer if you flash your Canadian passport.
Why passport?
So they're saying screw everybody else. Nobody, because I guess this is kind of like a screw you to the U.S. because the U.S. gave these key tags to all of their athletes so that they could go around and they could hit the vending machines and they could get their drink of choice.
Jeez.
So Canada says, yeah, well, you go drink your Coca-Cola and your Pepsi. Our folks coming here from Canada, they can get themselves a Labatt Blue or a Molson.
Well, I'm wondering. I'm wondering if
underneath.
this is a legal issue. I mean, I'm wondering if they only have the right license to do that for their own country and not the other countries. I mean, they can't legalize who this beer dispenses to if they're underage.
But Mother Russia does not allow beer in
Who do you
Mother
sue
Russia.
if that person's underage drinking and they get in an accident? Do you sue the Canadians or are you suing Russia? Or do you sue the country the person came from?
Well, whatever it is, I think it's an absolutely tremendous idea, and there should be more.
It is a tremendous
there
idea.
Should be
We need
more
one.
beer dispensaries where you can just flash your license underneath and walk up to an event and get your cold beer.
Well,
of
I'm sure it's
choice.
still $9.95 a can. I mean, come on, it's not going to be a deal.
It's tremendous. I'm sorry.
It's interesting. I mean, we can now sell cupcakes out of vending machines. We can sell crack pipes. We can sell anything out of a vending machine. What's next? Like babies? We're gonna have like a baby drop box. Leave your newborn here, and then you can just pick like A3.
I keep going back to
blonde,
Family
blue-eyed baby girl.
Prom night dumpster
8 pounds,
baby.
2 ounces. Oh man, I'm sorry. That's really bad.
That is bad.
Oh God, here comes that call-in number, the voicemail number you just set up. The hate mail.
The hate mail.
Yep.
If you guys do want to contact us tonight, 213-784-0884. We are going to be taking your calls. We are going to be stepping out and take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk to a resident expert regarding child anxiety and depression and also the safety in our schools. So stick around. You're watching Up for Discussion live right here on Rock TV and on LA TV.
8 hours.
And one of the coolest things though, on the way there is this little store. It's kind of in one of those areas where there's a bunch of signs for missile silos, and you pull into this little store and it looks like your average convenience store, except they have a bar in the back, a full bar, needless to say, and it gets better. In the front of the store, they have 3 very important aspects of life, which are aliens, ice cream, and porno. The show is brought to you in part by Shan Cakes, fondant cakes, buttercream cakes, and cupcakes for any occasion. Yummy and delicious signature cupcakes only found at Shan Cakes, 31 Middle Street, Leominster, Mass. Visit them online at www.shancakes.com or call them today at 978-840-4343.
And now back to Up for Discussion right here on Rock TV.
Welcome back to Up for Discussion Live here on PararockTV.com. And I forgot to mention also now on UpForDiscussionLive.com, because that's our name, and also on LATV. Now, joining us I believe, is our resident expert, and we're going to talk a little bit about childhood anxiety and depression. We touched upon this subject a little bit last week, where kids these days, more noticeably than ever, are being, put under extreme pressure at school and at home to get good grades, to do well in school, and there are more cases now of disorders with anxiety and depression than ever before. And I would like to introduce our guest on the phone. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Sure. My name is Marianne O'Connor. I live in New Hampshire. I actually have published a book called Haunted Hikes of New Hampshire. So I'm involved in the paranormal investigation world. But for the last 21 years, I have been a guidance counselor in a very large city public school.
Okay. Then let me ask you, have you seen childhood anxiety on the rise in the last few years, or is it more of a case, do you think, of awareness due to social media?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I've had a child who had childhood anxiety. She's 16 years old now, but she was terribly school phobic from the age of 5. And in my opinion, just over the years professionally, I see both special education, autism awareness, bullying awareness, and other things that are related to childhood anxiety come very much into play.
Mm-hmm.
Children can be absolutely crippled from anxiety to a point where parents take them out of school, put them in private school, homeschool them, put them on medications, everything, you name it. Your conversation earlier about crazy videos that go viral about parents losing their cool in the McDonald's drive-through line, try to put that into the third degree that happens on a daily basis in public schools. Mm-hmm. Parents go nuts.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you, do you think that, kids these days are more uptight as a general rule, or do you think that the field, if it would be the psychological field, is getting better at diagnosing it?
It's a little bit of both. I've talked to different generations about this. My parents, who are my children's grandparents, for example, and something like bullying has been around forever. Children endured bullying, and it's been systematic. However, it's only been recently that states have passed laws to push anti-bullying, curriculums and programs into schools. And children are afraid sometimes to go into schools or onto buses where they're humiliated and abused.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, social media has played into that with Facebook. I can't even tell you how many Facebook incidences we've had or sexting incidences we've had where, children, young girls, unknowingly take their clothes off and take their pictures for their boyfriends, and then those images go viral. So things like that lead into a lot of school anxiety, as well as testing does. Our children are over-tested to the max, and the pressure to perform and to be the very best and to excel is at such a great expense to their own ego and morale and character that I can even express.
Wow.
I saw it happen with my own daughter, as well as students I've worked with over the years.
It's a great point that you bring up, because there is a tremendous amount of pressure these days on kids to get good grades, and the testing process are all focused on now as far as being in what percentile and how the government views different parts of the country with their school systems. And actually, Shannon, as you know, I was talking to our 92-year-old neighbor downstairs, who is just a wealth of information, still sharp as a tack. Mm-hmm. And his comment on this was very interesting to me. He said, these days kids are forced education. He said, back in the day
Yeah.
when I was a kid, you could choose to work. You could choose manual labor. You could choose a wage job.
There's a lot more choice.
Yeah, and nowadays kids are forced into education and forced into being put in a situation where maybe they're not good with book learning, maybe they're not a good reader, maybe they're not good at math,
Yeah.
and all this translates to them is into failure, and that can bring on depression and symptoms like you've just talked about. Now, I do want to invite everybody that's listening to place your comments in the chat room. Shannon, feel free to chime in with anybody that has comments in there. You can also private message Shannon, who is our chat room guru. She will be watching over everything and passing along your comments. You can also call into us here live and be involved in the conversation at 213-784-0884. And parents, I do want to hear from you on this. It's refreshing to hear that there is awareness on this, but it also brings a very a big valid point into the subject where, maybe it is social media that's bringing more awareness to this situation, but I think it's also bringing more of the problem because, as you mentioned earlier, Facebook and social media, there's a lot of bullying going on. And kids these days, this is kind of the onset of all this stuff. People, I don't think, know how to handle this as well as they will maybe 20 or 30 years from now. How much do you think that comes into play when it comes to social media and bullying with kids these days?
Well, I know for a fact in our city of Nassau, we have a rules policy of bullying because it's a state law now. And viral or social media bullying is on par with the same kind of bullying that happens in school. So, for instance, if a student threatens another student online via Facebook and says, "Oh, I'm going to, hurt you. I'm going to beat your ass at the bridge," or something, those are considered serious threats by the police. And the police have to come into focus. So it puts a whole new element onto how we handle these problems in the school place that we didn't have before. Now we have to involve a police investigation. Parents get very upset.
Yep.
They don't understand that their own children have violated, the rights of others, and that things that they post in social media are easily transmitted or forwarded, and you can't take back what you say. So there's a lot of education and awareness that still needs to happen, especially with young kids who think they're indestructible and, free from any recourse.
And boy,
really
at 18 years old, we all felt that at 18 years old we were all invincible, if you will. Now, I do want to jump for just a second. We do have a caller on the line. 508 caller, go ahead. You're on with Jeff and Shannon on Up for Discussion Live.
Hi, how you doing, guys?
Great.
Hi.
Great. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, this is a really great topic. Actually, I was going to call in last week and didn't get a chance to. I've got an 8-year-old son. Back, I want to say when he was 3 years old, he started to exhibit this anxiety. His would manifest more as he'd attack us. If you told him no for anything, he would kind of lose control. And for us, when it started out in stores, especially, the people in the stores, we would get comments from people, you'd get the dirty looks and everything like that. And we'd have to kind of get him out of the store as quickly as we could. And we thought it was something it was just hoping it was a terrible 2s kind of carrying into the 3s. But as it's progressed, he's been hospitalized now for the last year and a half, inpatient.
Wow.
And
they've tried.
Now, when you say hospitalized, is this part of the treatment, or how is he being treated?
It's like a residential-style treatment. He's gone what they call ICBAD. It's like intensive care, where they work with psychiatrists and stuff like that to try to figure out what's going on. We had a neuropsych evaluation done on him, and at his age, at the time, he was only 6.5, pushing 7, so it was really hard to kind of lock something down, and they just said it was a mood disorder.
Did they give you an actual diagnosis yet?
No, they've still just listed it as mood disorder, not otherwise specified, and they're kind of the way I look at it, it's like cooking spaghetti. You know, you throw it at the wall and to see if it sticks, and it's kind of what they're at in the stage right now, and it's frustrating because
it is frustrating because
very frustrating.
This is an infancy part of this whole thing, I think, where these diagnoses are just starting, I think, to come into the forefront where people are really accepting them and understanding them. I'm going to put this question out to our resident expert here. It brings a great point because, as our caller mentioned, people in the store would stare and maybe think that the child may be undisciplined, and that and certainly this isn't my opinion, but there are those on the other side of this issue that might argue, for example, that maybe all these diagnoses are overrated. Maybe children just need a little bit more discipline. Maybe they just need to be busier, not on their cell phones or tablets. Because back in the day, there was corporal punishment. You could spank your child.
Oh, yeah,
and
that
now,
used to be.
now what they're telling you is that if you spank your child, you go to jail. But unfortunately, if your child that you cannot spank anymore goes and robs a convenience store, we're going to come to your house and make you responsible. So a lot of folks will argue that it may be lack of discipline or lack of activities that make a child or may enhance a child's behavior to this. What do you say to folks like that, that may have that opinion?
I would say this. When I'm in a store and I see a child, acting up behaviorally, I've had over 20 years of experience with both autistic children, special ed children, and behaviorally challenged children. And anxiety, as well as depression, is an irrational element. When we say to our children, snap out of it, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's no reason to be afraid of school. It's an irrational fear. But that's what anxiety is. It's irrational. It happens because of whatever those are that they can't perform successfully. They see themselves as failing in front of their peers, their family, their friends. They feel that they can't perform successfully, and so they continue to fail. And in my experience, it's best to treat those types of children with as much one-on-one support and compassion, and show them that they have skills that they can use and thrive on. They're maybe not going to go to Harvard or MIT, but you know what? They can be the best that they can be, and they have to find their skills and talents and not look at what the schools and what the state says they need to achieve to with state testing, such as, in New Hampshire it's NECAP or the MCATs or wherever you are. It's about finding achievement and fulfillment within that own child, and that's where I think the public school systems fail.
It's a great point, and I do want to ask Carla real quick. Your child, are they on medication right now?
Actually, yeah, he was just taken off of lithium, which was something that they were trying at his latest inpatient.
Wow.
Yeah,
my gosh, so young.
I know, and it was making him manic and violent. They kind of changed
that's
everything
terrible.
around. He was having
I hope you have
akathisia from
a
a lot
good
of...
therapist for him.
Yeah, actually, we've got a whole support group. We have one coordinator who kind of works with all of his outpatient therapists. We have inpatient therapy that we were doing when he was kind of routining in and out. He would come to the home for about a week or two or maybe a couple of days to try to transition. But it's pretty much inpatient now for the last 2 or 3 months.
Boy, it certainly lends to discussion that it's very hard, and a helpless feeling must come over you when you watch somebody that's suffering like that. And they don't always look the part unless they're having an episode. They look just like you and I. They look like normal people. And unfortunately, it is something that's very, very tough because you have one group that wants to medicate and give the drugs like he just described, like lithium and Ativan and Prozac and all those other ones. And then there's another group that feel maybe that counseling or one-on-one would be, something that would be advantageous. Now, we do only have a few minutes left, but I do want to go once again to ask you, how do you feel about those two courses of treatment in your expertise in seeing, and I know that you're not a professional in the medical field, but being a counselor and you see kids that come in, how do you see the kids that are being medicated versus the ones that are being counseled? Do you see a difference? And if so, what do you see?
For me, it's a combination. If children can hook up with a counselor that they can relate to, that the parents trust and like, and perhaps medication such as Lexapro or a very low dose of like a mood anxiety reliever. That's what my daughter was on. She was on Lexapro for a very long time until she adjusted, and she's 16, and believe it or not, she's living in Denmark as an overseas student. I mean, that's how she conquered her anxiety. Is she did dance, she found sports, and she found ways to succeed other than in school, because school was always her issue. Everybody has an individual plan that they need to define for themselves, because it's really not like a nutshell. It's something you have to live and learn and adapt to your own specific needs. But there's totally hope. Anxiety is something that children can definitely conquer, especially with parents who are supportive and there for their children. It sounds like your caller is doing everything he can for his child, and that's what counts the most. It's not disciplinary to tell that child, hey, knock it off, you're doing this for attention. But there's also special ed. There is a 504 plan, which a lot of parents don't know about, and my child was on a 504 plan because she didn't qualify for special ed. And that's a whole other area of discussion that we can talk about maybe at another time, where parents can find some relief, like a safety net in terms of putting their child through public schools and making sure that their child is okay.
Well, I do want to thank both of you very much for calling in. This is a very difficult subject to discuss, not only from a parental point of view, but also from a counselor point of view. And I think some of the information that you've given is outstanding. Certainly would encourage those not only to get counseling for their children, but also, counseling for themselves as families, because,
Absolutely.
Just like dealing with maybe, and I hate to compare it, but dealing with, a drug addiction or an illness, it doesn't just affect that particular individual. It definitely affects everybody around you. And it's certainly, I think it's advantageous to have that support system and to talk to other parents that may be going through this same thing with their children, because it's a crapshoot, as our caller mentioned. It's like throwing something against the wall and seeing what sticks or what may not stick. So and there are sites out there, here as we're wrapping up. Shannon, I know going back when I went to school, you never had to worry about a kid walking in and shooting up a school and taking human life. I mean, we did crazy things as kids. We may have set something on fire out on the field or put a bag of crap on somebody's front door. But I mean, now we're talking about taking human life, and it's at all ages. I know in particular a friend whose wife is a teacher in school and was poisoned by a student in that school. So it's not only just the children that are at risk, it's the teachers too. And I think safety in our schools also has a lot to do with child anxiety in today's schools and that age group, that whole thing. And it's a very interesting subject that we certainly will continue on our Facebook page. If you guys want to hit us up there, Facebook.com/UFD Rocks. We'll get as much information up there as we possibly can to help those parents and finding a place to go where they can get counseling and help for themselves, their families, and their children. And once again, Shannon, it's been a very quick hour, as we always enjoy here. And we wanted to make sure that we thank our guests. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and calling in. We do appreciate you, and we will have you back on with us. Stick around just 1 second as we head out. But for all of us here at Para Rock TV and LA TV, we want to thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Up for Discussion Live.
Brother whiskey and sister nicotine. I must admit you got your claws in me.